Welcome to the Elite Life with Trisha and Kylee. This is where we'll teach you how to develop grit, give yourself grace, and succeed in real estate. So let's dive in.
Hello, friends, and welcome back to the Elite Life Podcast, where we discuss all things business, entrepreneurship, and leadership. I am your host, Trish.
What?
Who are you?
Who am I today? I'm Kylee, and today we have a very special guest with us, Josh Pono, a real estate entrepreneur who has built and scaled multiple successful businesses in the industry. Josh, welcome to the show.
Thanks, ladies. How are you?
We are. How are you?
Good.
So, Josh, I have done a lot of internet stalking on you, as one does before they have them on their podcast or date them or even say hello nowadays, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're my cashier. Let me check you out on Instagram real quick, right? What I have found was that you have over a decade of experience in real estate and have helped hundreds of agents grow their business, which was what really caught me. Can you tell us a little bit about your background, how you got into the industry, how you got into the growing and scaling business? Tell us about you.
And I want to know if you played sports as a kid.
Yeah, all the above. So I played ice hockey as a kid growing up.
There it is.
Yeah, and I still play ice hockey. Play for 2 or 3 different teams. I coach my son's ice hockey team, so I'm on the ice 5 to 6 days a week, and absolutely love it. Real estate, I was really fortunate. I lived, if you've ever read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I got to live that life a little bit because my parents, they were, very low income, did not have a great understanding of business and finances. And my grandfather, by marriage, would pick me up and take me to other places. And one of the things he always taught me was, buy real estate, invest in real estate, be in real estate. And so I got to see, what happens if you make certain choices and what happens if you make different choices. I got to live that as a young kid. And from very early on, I just kind of had this internal feeling that I was going to be in real estate. And it kind of happened by accident all of a sudden where I got a job in 2009. I couldn't get a job. I was doing construction with my father. And this internet marketing company selling $50 websites exclusively to real estate agents was willing to pay me. And so that was where I started real estate, selling websites to real estate agents. And it was 2009. So, anybody in real estate knows that was a very interesting time to be in real estate. And ignorance is bliss, because I just thought that's just how agents were. Like, I thought it was just a tough market and I didn't know anything about what was going on in real estate. And I guess because I didn't know what a big deal it was to be trying to help agents build their business in the middle of that really tumultuous situation, I did really well. And I just kept getting recruited to bigger and better companies. I worked at Boomtown. You guys know who Boomtown is. And I worked at KV Core and Inside Real Estate and really carved out a niche of being able to help agents understand more about lead generation and how to set up the right systems, because so many people go out and buy leads, but it's like they don't have their CRM set up or their follow-up set up, or they don't have the right scripts in place. And so I always was really fascinated about that. And I did that for about 8 years and I got burned out. I didn't want to hear another single real estate agent ask me about what's the difference between Sync and Boomtown. And I was like, tired of teaching people how to do it. And so I also realized that software sales pays about 3% of the gross sales. And then I was like, wait a minute. 3% for a $20,000 marketing program or 3% for a $600,000 house. Time for me to get into real estate. So I moved. So I decided that it was time to move back. I had traveled the country going to these different companies and helping them build their platforms and their products and their technology. And I moved back to San Diego and I had $50,000 in the bank and I was like, I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to go all in and rented an apartment with my wife and my 2 children and just started dialing cancel and expireds and hammering internet leads. And probably started out, I was 90 days in the business and I had a $4,000 realtor.com budget. And was just calling leads. First year in real estate, we sold 33 homes. 6 months in, I had 8 escrows going, and I decided that it was also a good idea to hire an admin and 3 buyer's agents, even though I had no idea about training. And I was like, this is going to go perfect. And then 3 to 4 months later, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be bankrupt here in a minute because I don't understand anything about the business. I know how to sell. I know how to get leads. I know how to convert the leads. But what happens when an appraisal comes in low? What happens when, the RR gets out of control? How to set really good expectations with clients? And the first couple of years were extremely difficult for me in business because I knew what I knew, and I didn't know what I didn't know. And so I was battling. I was struggling. I got into business with Brian Kane, who's a Gary Keller top 100 team. They were doing 120 transactions. He was looking to go to 7th level, and he needed somebody that could help him with that. And so I took a jump, and I let my team go, parted ways with my best friend that was helping me run the team, and went and did that for a while, and just kept going to the next level. But real estate, I got into it a little bit different than most people. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I love that because it's like I think that one of the reasons that you may have even got burned out is like with coaching or training, like you're selling this software and you're showing people how to do it. But how many people actually did it the way you showed them, right? Like we have Follow Up Boss, Boomtown just bought Brokerment. We have Brokerment, and we have these people come in and they train the agents and show them. And we're like, here's an amazing piece of technology. It'll change your life. And they're like, that's cool. We'll use it for 5 seconds and then never use it again, right?
Yep.
Like...
Yeah, adoption is the biggest challenge in our industry that we face across the board, right? Like you can provide the best tools. It's like that old, you can lead a horse to water but can't drink. And I don't mean to compare agents to horses, but the reality is that if they're not going to use it, it's not going to get them the benefit. And that kind of goes into stuff that we talk about all the time with our systems. I always am trying to create systems where it has the least amount of agent responsibility to make it work.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like if I can, the weakest link in the chain in any type of follow-up is always the salesperson doing it. Whether you're talking about any industry, right? Like you can have the best systems, the best scripts, but if they're not going to implement it, you're not going to get the results. So
right.
Now that's hard to do, right? Obviously, because agents got to follow up, but that has always been the biggest challenge in real estate because we just wear so many hats, no pun intended. We wear so many hats and we downplay the long-term money because we're so focused on making sure we get that short-term money.
Yeah.
So true. So true.
So many amazing
and like, there. You've clearly achieved a ton of success in the industry, like just jumping in, like the numbers you shared, like right off rip, like you're going at it, you're doing it. I love that you burn the boats. Like we always talk about that on the show. Like you got to burn the boats and get all in. I have people that come and they interview at our brokerage and they're like, well, I want to eventually get into this. And I'm like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen. Like maybe you can close one here or there, but like you said, you wear so many hats. There's so much to learn. Like the best way to become a quickly successful agent often is to burn those boats and go all in just like you did. But it's scary. It's risky, right?
It's terrifying.
Yeah. So what do you
terrifying.
think like are qualities that like make a great real estate agent, right?
I really think that people have to have that level of accountability or that level of commitment, right? Like if I don't, when I started, if I didn't sell, then my family wasn't eating. Right. My wife was transitioning. We wanted her to be a stay at home. We didn't want somebody else to raise our kids. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but for us, I'm coming from my mother was 19 when she had me. Like I wanted my wife and my kids to have a tighter family connection. So it was like, I had no choice but to go forward. And for me, I was just talking about this in one of the office trainings. Like I have a mindset of somehow, some way, right? Like, how are we going to get there? Somehow, some way. How's it going to work out? Somehow, some way. Well, do you have all the answers right now? Nope. But somehow, some way we're going to get there. How do you know? Because it has to be.
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think is a major factor of the success that we have is that I focus on educating people so that they feel really comfortable about the decisions they're making. There's a saying that we use in our office. It's in our scripting, and it's what we preach and teach every day is like, our job is to help people get reliable information and a great education so they can make the best decisions for them and their families. And when all you focus on is making sure that they have a complete understanding of what's going on in the market, why is it doing this? What are the processes needed to be in place in order to have a great experience? What's their responsibilities to hit our timelines? And how can we just navigate this so that all of the negative clickbait doesn't affect them? All of a sudden, people start to allow you to help them the best way that you actually can, because they're completely in that alignment. And being transparent with people and setting really good expectations so that you don't have these things. And that was the problem with my first year in real estate. I had no idea how to set expectations. So it was like, I'd like put out one fire, but accidentally create another one. Right.
Yeah.
And so I think we all go through that. And it's like, you just got to focus on other people's needs and know that if you take care of people, and the same thing for us as owners and whatnot, if we take care of our agents, they're going to take care of us. And if we take care of our clients, they're going to take care of us. And we don't have to worry about when are we going to get paid. We don't have to have commission breath, and we can just focus. And that's kind of where it's good to produce a lot, because it allows that process to happen much easier.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like everything you're saying, like we just finished wrapping a podcast about My Stars Academy, right? Yeah. So that is specifically everything you're preaching to. And one of the reasons why I was so excited to have you on the show, because we vibe together, to use the young folks verbiage. We vibe together on that education, right? That education. We talk about the buyer's consults in there and how you sit down and you educate the buyer and you set those expectations, like literally word for word, exactly what I just said, like set those expectations. Then they don't get freaked out, because like we were talking about earlier in real estate, it's not if, it's when. It's not like, will a fire start? It's when is a fire going to start? Something's going to happen. Like it's inevitable that some moment in here, the train's going to go off the tracks. Like we can eliminate how often that happens by educating and stuff like that. But real estate, there's so many hands in the pot. There's so many cooks in the kitchen. It might be a title company person who misses one little number, or the insurance guy didn't realize it was in a flood zone, or the seller's disclosure wasn't filled out properly, right? Like there's so many variables.
But what I love about what you said is somehow, some way, because we're constantly preaching like everything is figure outable. Everything is figure outable. Everything is figure outable. And like I tell my daughters, I'm like, there's 3 answers in life you're going to get: yes, no, and later.
Right. Yeah. So like, obviously you're a super pro at helping agents grow their businesses. Like, can you tell us like a little bit more and kind of unpack the strategies you use and that approach that you take to scaling? Because that's one major question. Like, you know, we teach a lot of new agents, but what about those ones that want to scale and grow? That's what we're super interested in kind of unpacking with you. How does that work?
Yeah, I mean, it's a really big challenge too, right? Because scaling comes from systems that can be replicated across the board. And one of the challenges is that the sales game is a churn and burn industry, right? Like as a whole. So like, even like when you go out and all right, I'm going to scale, I'm going to get internet leads, I'm going to go get an ISA. The ISA position is one of the most challenging to retain, recruit, and develop, right? Because it takes time to develop great sales reps. Like being a sales rep, everybody wants the quick fix, but so that's a challenge. And what we try to focus on is just simply 2 things. Like in business, you have your now money, right? You like, I need money now, and you have your long-term money. And when you talk about scaling, most of the stuff in scaling is you're building the foundations for later. And so it comes from, I call it System Saturday, right? Where Saturday, I'm always spending a little bit of time working on the systems, or what are the processes that we just do over and over and over again, but nobody slows down to actually build it out. So if I have an agent that is, they're saying, hey, I had a client that was asking this, and this, it's like, well, answer that question for them, and then immediately pause and make a video that says, hey, if you're a buyer looking for this type of issue and you're looking for this type of answer, here's the answer currently, right? And make that content, because videos will work for you. Videos is what I'm all in on, and content, because it's the only way I've found that you can really start to scale out that organic side, right? Because advertising is expensive. Hiring ISAs and having it churn is expensive. It's time consuming, and it's possible, but building great content that people are going to find and it's going to be available at any time they want, video is huge for us.
Yeah, I love that too. I love that idea of, when you come into a problem, make a video about it. Have you came into this problem? Like that's so simple, but also so like boom, right? Like
For sure.
So-
I
so
literally,
many-
when you said that, I was like, this thing and this thing and this thing all happened last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's, because when we're working with the agents, it's like, even when I'm working with the different office owners and stuff, they're like, we want to attract agents or we want to attract clients. Well, your clients are online Googling stuff left and right, right? Like they're Googling for information, and it's so hard to get reliable information, because if I'm in California, the licensing laws are way different and the contract laws are way different than, say, Arizona. Right. And so when you're dealing with this stuff, if you've got somebody that is asking you a question, then somebody else is asking it on the internet. Right. And people say, well, what content, what value? Just document your life. Just process. Just if everything you go through, build it out on video. Most of the content that I'm doing are just chop ups of different conversations I'm having with agents.
Mm.
Love that. Lifestyle ministry, right? Lifestyle ministry. Like if it, like you said, if you're going through it, somebody else is too. And you mentioned like how you help other business owners and stuff like that. So is that a separate company that you're growing and scaling other than your real estate brokerage, like going into other companies and implementing these systems and strategies? Can you talk to us a little bit about that? Is that I'm going to say it wrong, the Ponoisms? Ponoisms, yes. Tell us about Ponoisms.
So Ponoisms came out because I would skip steps in I would skip questions. So like if somebody was asking me something, I would say the something and it wouldn't make sense to them. And it was just because I had skipped 3 lines of questioning and jump right to the end. And so one of my friends was like, is that a Ponoism, playing off that whole Bushism thing? And I was like, I guess so. And it just kind of stuck. But what my mission is to elevate the sales game. I think there's a million coaches out there, a million gurus, and people will ask us all the time, like, what's the difference between you and them? And I'm like, I'm patient. And they look at me like a deer in the headlights, like, you're patient. I'm like, everybody's going to tell you that they're phenomenal and they're incredible, and they're gone within 6 months. So I'm not upset that you don't believe me. I'm not upset that you've heard it all. You sound like everybody else, but in 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, 18 months, we're going to be bigger. We're going to be louder, and we're still going to be here. So it's fine, with those initial reactions. And Ponoisms is just simply almost like a Mamba mentality. I'm a huge Kobe Bryant fan. In fact, I have Kobe shoes that never go outside the house. Right? Like,
those are his house shoes.
Yeah, and it's funny because people will send me pictures of like people out and about in Kobe shoes. I'm like, they're wearing them outside? Like, you don't do that. But it's more of a I want to help people realize that there's a difference between training and coaching and development. And what I'm working on is elevating the game to where people, if they get developed into really great sales reps, all their problems will go away. Right. Like, and I used to make this joke about being a professional cold caller, because for the beginning of my career, I literally cold called 4 hours a day. When I was working with agents, I was cold calling 4, 5, 6 hours a day to get my appointments. Right. And I would make the joke. I'm like, I would tell people I'm a professional cold caller and I make a ton of money. And nobody ever once was like, how'd you get in? Do you think you know somebody that can get me into the cold calling industry? Like, you think you can hook me up? And, the Ponoisms thing is just about building the brand of us helping people develop their systems. And it's about building an audience that, whether it's First Class Real Estate, EXP, Real, LPT, Remax, like, I don't really have any, everybody's got a cool niche for the right fit, right? Like, some people love this, but we still want to help everybody. And if they come to us, great. And if they don't, but they get value and they develop into better sales reps, that's great too.
So that's really interesting that like you want to make, like, everybody hates cold calling. Like when they say like, I don't want to cold call, like that's one of the number one things when I have agents come in, they're like, I don't want to cold call. And I'm like, you're not cold calling. People went on the internet and said they want help. You're help. That's not cold
You're
calling.
giving the people what they want.
You're giving the people what they want.
There's a huge misconception about cold calling, and I talked to I've found that it's been one of the most incredible blessings in my life, and I'm really good at it because I have fun with it. right? Like I don't go in there and be like, oh, I hate my life today because I got my time block of prospecting for 2 hours. Like I go in there and I have fun with people, and you make some really great connections. And not that I'm trying to convince everybody to be cold caller, but the reality is if you're in a real estate business, and I know it's a relationship business, you have to build relationships, but you still have to prospect because you are in a sales business. The business only moves forward when you sell a house. So yes, you need to develop relationships, but being a phenomenal salesperson will allow you to develop that stuff, whether you're door knocking, whether you're doing open houses, whether you're prospecting through cancel and expireds or FSBOs or circle dialing, whatever you're doing. If you can engage in active listening and provide solutions that'll help shake their mental frame, right? Because so many times, well, I don't want to do an open house because I'm nervous about people coming in. Well, that's going to help you get more money, which is what you want. It's going to help you get a better competition around the terms so that you get really short windows and contingencies, right? So we have to engage in that active listening of why they're not moving forward. And it literally, I mean, cold calling is the most dollar productive activity you can do as a real estate agent. It literally can make you $2,500 an hour if you're great at it. And everybody in the market right now, they're struggling with their comfort zone, and they're struggling with the rejection, but it doesn't have to be that. It doesn't have to be horrible. It's just about your frame of mind and your perspective. And it also has to do with just a couple little caveats that most people miss.
What's those caveats? Because I'm super into this right now. I'm like, how do you get people to want to cold call people, please?
All right, so
how do I make my people want to get on the phones and not be scared?
All right, so here's how I start out every single call. I don't care if you're a new referral that I've never spoken to, an open house lead, every single cold call, canceled, expired. I start out with this formula, and it literally shifts the entire dynamic of how the conversation goes. And I'm going to frame, normally what'll happen is somebody will call up and they'll say, hi, Trisha, my name is Josh Pono. I'm with XYZ Realty. I noticed that your property had come off the market. I was curious when you're going to hire agents to get the property sold or something along that manner, right?
Mm-hmm. And stop calling me. You're the sixth person that called me.
Exactly. And to that I say, no kidding. I bet you got them hiding in your bushes. They're chasing your car down the street. They're coming out of the woodworks. That's incredible. And that'll make them laugh, by the way. But right. what I do is I start out with familiarity, right? So like when we call up and like, hi, is this Trisha? No, this is some other woman that grabbed Trisha's cell phone is now answering for her, right? Like we start out with this like question mark, like hi, I'm Ron Burgundy, right? Remember the movie?
I'm Ron Burgundy.
Right. So we start out with it where I start out and it changes the whole psychology of the calls. You go, hey, Trisha. Like I've spoken to you a million times before. Hey, Trisha.
Hi.
Then I go.
Look at her
then
face.
I go
like,
into.
Hey.
Then I go in to say my name with authority, right? Because I'm a badass agent, of course, right? I have to be because I'm cold calling at 8 a.m. in the morning. And I say, hey, Trisha, Josh Pono, good morning.
Good morning. I want to talk to you now.
Yeah, right. And so what happens is we have this psychological programming, but for most of us, right, when we were younger, if somebody says good morning to you, what are you supposed to say back?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Right. It's programming. So now instead of their guard going up and being like, oh, this is a sales call right out the gate, they're like, who the heck is this like really positive person?
Yeah.
Right.
It's too early for this.
I have been yelled at with people. They're like, I'm hungover, but don't be positive. I'm trying to get a margarita. But in all seriousness, right? Like they'll say, hey, good morning. And sometimes their programming kicks in. They're like, how are you? Now, once they do that, I'm like, I'm doing lovely. Somewhere between phenomenal and fantastic, but it's early. I haven't figured out. How about yourself today? I never start with how are you because that's salesy. And I don't really care if you're in a bad mood or a good mood. I'll still help you sell your house if you need, right? So it's an irrelevant question. But if I say to them, I'm doing lovely, they laugh, right? Because it's kind of weird to hear a man say he's doing lovely. Or I do the overly positive, I'm phenomenal or fantastic, something just to be like warm and make them smile. It's incredibly hard to be pissed off at somebody when they're making you laugh and smile, right?
That's
like
true.
When they're truly making you laugh and smile. And then you read the flow and you go one of two ways. Because sometimes people are like, oh, I love your energy. What's up? And it's like, listen, I specialize in selling homes, or I specialize in working in open houses, or I specialize in helping referrals, or I specialize in whatever it is the lead. I specialize in helping people searching on Facebook for homes. I specialize in this. So there's the familiarity. I know you have X. So for cancel and expires, it's like, I know you've gotten 4 or 5 phone calls. I specialize in helping people just like yourself. I was curious, what's the story? But because the guard is down, they're like, all right, here's the deal, Josh. And they level with you. So then I go into, then you're in the conversation, you're in problem.
You're having a conversation.
You're having a conversation, right? And it's because it's warm and it's familiar. Same thing when it comes to any lead source. You know, so many times they're like, well, these leads are all just searching. I'm like, well, of course. Have you ever bought a house without searching?
Right. Have you bought anything without going on Google and trying to see what's going on?
Exactly.
So when they go, oh, I'm just looking. Oh, that's fantastic. I love working with people that look. How long you been looking? Right? Like, it's just about having fun and having that conversation and getting through, letting them know that you're comfortable with what you're doing. And your jabs, I just kind of, hey, I've gotten 38 phone calls this morning. I know, man. Is anybody hopping out of your bushes yet? Did you go to the water cooler and somebody popped in the water bottle this morning? It's been crazy. Anyway,
Have
listen.
you filed a PPO yet?
Yeah. So, and if they do that, it completely, and I'm training the agents, right? Like, that's what the expired listing breakthrough course was all about, of just helping people understand that if you can help people realize that you're totally comfortable with what you're doing, you're having a good time, that in itself completely differentiates you from 95% of the people calling them.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, all of this hot fire is so wonderful. We're going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsors, and then we'll be right back. All you listeners, make sure you come right back here. Actually, don't move. Don't move. We'll be right back.
Everybody's got their target audience, is what I've learned.
Yeah.
I used to joke because people would say something like, you think you're really attractive? I'm like, no, I think I'm really attractive to a very small segment of the audience. I've learned how to identify them. And once I've identified that I'm in a conversation with that, then the confidence goes up because I know I'm talking to my target audience.
Boom.
He's like, my target audience is my wife. That's my.
Yeah, you know what? That theory hasn't gone very, very, very well because I literally learned that, and then the next woman I met was my wife, and that was 11 years ago.
Oh my goodness. All right. Thanks, friends, for sticking with us. If you're just tuning in, we got Josh Pono here, who is an absolute powerhouse in the real estate industry. And if you missed part 1, you're going to want to hit that rewind button and go back and listen to all the hot fire that he just spit out of his mouth a few minutes ago. So moving forward, I'm going to let Trish pick a question out of the hat here.
Oh, well, we've talked about you do some coaching, obviously. You're coaching businesses, you're coaching your agents and things like that, but you also run your own real estate brokerage. What do you think sets your brokerage apart from like other brokerages out there? Like if someone's in your area and is looking for somebody, why should they come to you? What do you think?
So if you're because First Class Real Estate's a franchise model. I bought into the franchise to open up 25 offices. I opened up the first one with it. The reason why I picked it is because it's the leanest model out there, and they take care of a lot of the stuff that bogs new owners down or bogs offices down, like recruiting, technology, marketing support, stuff like that. And it's all built in, and it's super, super affordable in comparison to all the other brokerages out there. And it's why it's one of the fastest growing in the country. For agents, each franchise has their own value props and their own models, and they have their own amenities, so to speak, that come with it. For us, in San Diego, it comes down to I personally, this is a really important thing to me. I always wanted to have my own culture and team, and I always, worked at all these different offices. I was always a top producer, and I always felt like the company treated the top producers and treated the sales reps like they were expendable. And I realized that they were always the heartbeat of the organization. And so for me, people that work with me, they realize like, this is more than just, profit. I could have gone to EXP and chased the downlines. I could have gone to Reel and done these things. And for me, it's more about, again, going back to my mission of like, I want to build the reputation that when you come to the offices that I own, when you are coming in and plugging in every day, we truly are working on developing people into better reps, because once they become a better salesperson, a better real estate agent, then they can actually start to do all the things that they got in the business to do in the first place. Right. And so we really focus on the foundation, and we basically offer, if you want to go to a team, you're going to pay 50-50 everywhere you go, right? Like you'll get leads, you'll get technology, you'll get this. I offer all that stuff at a fraction of the cost of what it would be, but you're running your own business. So like, I don't have a Josh Pono team, but I act as a team leader to all these individual agents in these smaller teams that are growing their brand, their business. So they get the best of both worlds, where you're getting support, you're getting resources, you're getting leads, you're getting coaching, you're getting development. You're not paying 50-50. You're paying something much more affordable, so you can take that extra money and put it back into your brand to grow the long-term stuff as well. And so that's kind of what we're building out here in San Diego. But First Class has a lot of different options for a lot of different people that, is very, very skinny, very affordable. And it's not for everybody. There's a lot of people that want to do the MLM stuff, and they want to go with EXP and Reel and all that stuff. And that's awesome. It's great. I got friends killing it, crushing it there. But we've got our own little niche we're carving out.
I love that you brought that up, like the culture and stuff, because we were just talking about how culture matters. And I came from a bigger team, and it was not the culture fit that Elite Realty was for me. And we were just talking about the culture that Trish and Andy have built over at Elite Realty. And it's much like what you are preaching, is a lot of guidance, a lot of support, and basically filling the gaps that the other brokerages have left open.
Yeah. And that's one thing I try to tell agents a lot. Like, I'll have an agent come in and interview with me, and they're like, well, what's your splits? What's your caps? Blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, listen, 100% of nothing is still nothing, bro. So, like, let that sink in for a little bit. If you haven't been coached, if you haven't been trained, if you haven't been developed, like exactly what you're saying, like building that business, if none of that's been done, you can get 90%. You can get 100%, because you know what your broker's doing? They're doing nothing. If you want me to do absolutely nothing and just put your license on the wall, well, number one, I won't do it, because that's how you get a whole bunch of complaints. But number two, like, this isn't the fit for you. I'm not the one, But
I think too, the other thing is that from what I'm hearing from Josh and what I know about obviously our office, is like what we were talking about the other day when we had our leadership and development meeting, is like, we don't just want people who want to be real estate agents. We want people who want to be better people.
Yeah, we build better people.
We build better people. And that's that's a huge reason why I love Elite so much, is because coaching with you, working with Andy, like the culture, like just everything. You've seen my life change. I went from living in the trough of sorrows, living hand to mouth, and
to meet me at the gym every Monday morning.
Exactly. So doing stuff that I would swear I would never do, that I used to laugh my ass off at you for. And now here we go.
We're making him drink the Kool-Aid, Josh.
Two things to that, right? One, I recognize that about your brokerage, and just from your digital footprint, I recognize that was a similar thing that both of us really focused on. That's the first thing. So like it's not only visible from people within, but it's visible on the outside, which is awesome. The second thing to that is when I was at Z57, I had sold a bunch of websites, and I was like burned out a little bit, and I became a trainer. Where every 30 days we'd get 20 new people, and I teach them about websites and the program and how to sell other agents. And I wanted to go I was always somebody that was like next level, next level, next level, next level. Even when I wasn't ready, I constantly biting off more than I could chew. I was killing it as a coach. And what they would do as a coach is they'd give us like 3 or 4 reps and say, hey, see if you can develop them. And I wasn't known as somebody that was like fundamentally sound. I was kind of known as a little bit of a wild card, outside the box kind of guy. And I was just beating everybody. And the director of sales came up to me. He's like, Josh, what are you doing that's working so well? Because we want to implement it. And the first thing that came to mind, I was like, I just make people feel good about themselves. Like the first and foremost, people like, how do I become better sales reps? You could change nothing about what you're doing on the phone. You could still be a horrible sales rep. I've met a lot of them, but they're very happy. They're very happy and they just enjoy what they're doing, and people will work with you because the energy is right. So when it comes to like culture and salespeople, the first thing that we focus on is like, let's just remind you of how awesome you are in all these other areas. And let's just shut that voice up that says you're not good enough and says that you're never going to be, or let's get rid of the baggage that you're carrying from wherever you came from. And let's start enhancing the areas that'll make an impact the best. And then we'll turn you into an assassin a little bit later, but that culture and that just feeling good about showing up to work and knowing that you're going to be working with somebody that isn't going to rip you alive because you made a mistake, or isn't going to treat you like a number, or is going to be there with you at 7:00 when you're freaking out and there's a panic and they got to get on the phone because it's a multiple offer situation and they want you to remove a prey, blah, 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 blah. Right. Like in those moments, they know they're supported and they know they're loved. And I think that's the biggest thing of like, I show vulnerability with the people too. Right. Like, I'm drinking from a fire hose. I got 3 or 4 companies coming on. They, when I opened up the office, people were like, do you know anything about running an office? Nope.
We're going to figure it out some way, somehow.
That's right.
Yeah. They're like, do you even have E&O insurance? I'm like, there's got to be a guy that sells this stuff, right? Like, I mean, there's got to, I mean, there's car insurance, there's house insurance. Who's your E&O guy? You don't even have E&O insurance? We'll get it. I mean, it's a phone call? I'm sure there's like an online link or something. It'll be fine.
Exactly. I love that so much. So speaking of those things, we always like to ask, if you could share what tools you use to keep your personal and professional life from completely going off the rails, because you have a lot going on, just like I know we have a lot going on, and I live and die by my Google Calendar, and I know you do too, Trish. So what tools do you use that you could share with our audience that maybe they're not using, or maybe you could double down on the damn Google Calendar?
Get organized.
So I actually use a paper calendar. Yeah.
Sacrilege.
So I use a paper calendar, and it's funny because sometimes people are like, all right, could you send me a link and an invite for that meeting? I'm like, do you want me to take a picture of my calendar and text it to you? Or like, because I use this paper calendar because I find that it helps me plan out the week. And one of the tools that I use is my wife and I, Michelle, on Sunday, we sit down and we plan out what's going on that week. And I start with the activities. First off, we try to get 2 to 3 date nights a month. And I think it's absolutely, so like I go into the things that are most important, right? So first thing is like, all right, when are we getting our date nights? When's that getting scheduled in? Because if I got to work in this world and I can't even date my wife or be with my kids, then what's the point? So we start out with the date nights. Then we go to what events the kids got going on that I need to be to, whether it's Taekwondo practice or hockey practice. Then I move to my hockey games, right? And those are strategically placed at night. That's one of the great things about hockey is a lot of the men's leagues are at night. Then we go into office. Like I just literally structure out the whole week so that the most important things are there. And that keeps me to where it's like, okay, I've got those priorities. And then I'm disciplined about it. When people say, hey, I got to go see this home at 4 or 5 and I've got hockey practice with the kids. I say, hey, I'm at an appointment. I can't make it. I said, but what I can do is I can get an agent to show you the property, or I can be available as early as 7 a.m. the next day. Right. And I just move those pieces around. Physical fitness. Go ahead. I have a
question.
Yeah.
While we're on the subject of the paper planner, do you use a pencil? Please tell me you use a pencil.
100% because
Okay, good. Okay, you can move on because I was concerned there for a second.
No, that's a really good point though, because the story behind this is that Gary Keller still uses a paper calendar, and my mentor at my previous business was a prodigy of Gary Keller, and Gary was in this thing where he was like, I'm gonna use my electronic one, and he's like, let's play this game. I'll write what my net worth is on the table, close face down. You write your net worth. We'll switch, and whoever has the highest one will use their time management system. And so I just ran with it. But yes, you have to use a pencil because guaranteed. And this is funny because there's been times where I don't have a pencil and I'm like, there's no way this meeting's moving. I'm going to go ahead and put this one in pen, this one safe. Every single time something happens to that meeting in pen.
Yep.
So I got a 20 pack of pencils everywhere. There's 15 pencils lying around the house. They're in the couch cushions. There are some consequences of this program, but and then the other rule is if you erase it, you have to replace it, right? Because it made the calendar for a reason. So if you're going to erase it, and that goes across the board, right? If you got to erase the wife's, if date night gets interrupted for some sort of drastic reason, then it gets replaced. And as long as you do that, you have a good shot of at least moving the ball down the road consistently.
I love that. And I love that you draw those boundaries and you're not afraid to, because I think that especially with newer agents, you want to please and you want to close and you want to do. But like you said, if you let your personal life go to trash, then like your business is going to eventually go to trash too, because you're going to be depressed and you won't be able to sell anything. And it's so important to exactly what you said. Very easy. I have an appointment from 4 to 5. Like it's everybody in the entire universe understands if you have an appointment 4 to 5. You have an appointment 4 to 5, right? Like,
yeah, and I think that the people who don't, they're not a good fit for you.
Right.
And I think that's a huge thing for new agents is, like you just said, new agents are afraid to turn down business because they're like, well, when is the next fish going to come down the river? You know, but it's like if you spend all your time working to catch this fish when it's really not a good fish for you, then look at all of the other fish that were, I don't want to say easier to catch, but we're maybe hanging out in the part of the river where you like to stand.
Yeah, or the other thing that you said that I often do is if I have a client that's like out of area or I know their schedule is going to be super demanding, when we do that buyer's consult, I will let them know like, hey, listen, I'm your girl. I'm going to be your best friend. I'm going to be by your side this whole time. But on occasion, somebody else might open the door for you. And then I'm going to call you afterwards and be like, hey, how'd it go? Blah, blah, blah. Like, don't be afraid to share with somebody else, because half of something or 10%, a little bit of something is better than nothing.
Right.
So share with somebody else, and they're probably going to share with you later anyways, right?
For sure.
Teamwork makes dream work.
100%. And that really goes back to the sales skills and the prospecting time, right? Because when you know that you know how to get on the phone or door knock or do lead generation, and you know how you go to convert appointments, you don't operate with this mindset of scarcity. And you're so good at what you do that people will wait for you, right? Like, and that's the thing of like, well, what if they leave me? If they leave me, then I haven't done a great job at building value with them. If they leave me, then I probably missed a step. And there have been times where people are like, well, if you're not going to be available, I'm not interested in working with you. And I look back and I'm like, oh man, I cut so many corners on this one. I thought it was a slam dunk. I thought I was just moving too quick. And all of a sudden it's biting me in the butt. And I go, you know what? I'm accountable next moving forward, but I'm not going to tell my kids. And now granted, listen, there are definitely times where, especially in this market with the inventory we have, property comes up, seller decides that they're going to be on the market for a week, but they're only allowing showings between 11 and 1 on a Saturday, right? And
yeah,
all
those are fun.
And so there are those times where, and none of the agents are available to help, and I've got to go maybe move and adjust things. But at the same time, again, if you erase it, you replace it.
I love that theory. I like it a lot. So speaking of clients, what do you think is the secret sauce to keeping your clients happy?
A lot, like you said, Trisha, is like, you let them know I'm going to be here with you. I'm going to be here with you. And no matter whether it's good or it's bad or it's ugly, and real estate can get a little turbulence here and there, I'm never going to leave your side, and I'm never going to not show up, and I'm never going to hide the truth for you, because I'm afraid that it'll mean that I won't win or that you won't get the results that you want. I'm going to trust that you're logical, you're reasonable, and we can make great decisions together. And I'm going to be there with you. It also comes back to, being there at the critical moments, right? Like there's some times where you can let something slide for a day. There's some times where it needs attention right now. And a situation like that is like when you know, if you were to see a property and the buyer says, I want to make an offer, and you like, cool, I'll get you comps tomorrow and we'll figure it out tomorrow, and they lose the house because of you, like that kind of stuff is unacceptable. That you just have to know when you have to be there, and you can never let a client lose a house. You can never let a client, like, it's okay to lose a house if you did everything that was possible, you were there on time. Like punctuality is really important, right? There's so many different things that go into like what makes a fantastic agent. Accountability, right? Commitment, right?
Yeah.
Like if you want to build a business and you want to have a great reputation with clients, then you have to, you know, people say under promise and over deliver. It's like promise amazing expectations and then over deliver on that. Like tell them exactly what you're going to do and then wow them. Don't sell yourself short just so you look good.
Yeah. And you kind of touched on it, like, you know, you've unpacked your business and stuff like that. How do you feel about the current market? Because this is a question, like, people will be like, oh, how's your business? And I'm like, it's fantastic. And they just like, what?
Yeah, they're like, how's the real? I love when people ask me, so what's the real estate market like? Is it good? I'm like, the real estate market is the real estate market. Like, it just literally is. I don't look at it as good market, bad market. I look at it as it just is. And I feel like all these agents who are walking around, it's a bad market, it's a bad market, it's a bad market. Well, they weren't properly trained like we were, like you were, to say, okay, well, the market was quote unquote great, so now we have to make a pivot. So now maybe because there's less sellers, now maybe we're working with some renters, but you can always make that up. Like there's always more business, there's always more money, there's always more people to work with.
Well, Kylie just answered your question.
I'm sorry.
She did it better than I was going to do it. So killed it.
Like what she said.
I didn't mean to. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to steal your thunder there.
I think, you know, this market is obviously much, much different than we were experiencing in 2021, right? Like there was a FOMO in the air where buyers were, you know, like you didn't have to bulletproof a transaction because even if they found a $10,000 issue in the house, they're like, well, the other homes have already appreciated 25. And if I leave now, I might not even get back into escrow and I've got my rate locked in, like, screw it. I'll take the fact that the house isn't grounded and it has an electrical system from 1945. I'll deal with it later.
Or there were dead bodies in the basement. I'll just give me the house.
I mean, they at least use a little bit of salt on them. It'll be fine. Like we'll just keep going. But
sprinkle some lye. We'll be just fine.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just put it in the RR that we want to remove prior to the close of escrow. We'll be good. So, you know, it's a challenging market. And what I kind of like about it is that that excellence is going to shine more than ever. Right. Like I can't tell you how much. And I'm so positive. Like I have a really cynical mind and I have a very, dark sense of humor sometimes, but like I would be cracking up when you would see the new listing agent that's never sold a home in her entire life. And she's on Facebook and it's 2021. And she's like, if you need a buyer, if you need an agent with amazing service and knows how to market real estate properties, $100,000 over, 17 offers, no contingencies, I know how to get it done. And it's like, a monkey could have gotten that. Right. Like for the first time ever, somebody's like, actually, you know, I'm going to do it for sale by owner. I'm like, I got nothing. You're going to win, right? Like it's going to sell. Like you will navigate it and you don't need to know anything. Like that was the case. Now it's going to expose a lot of people. It's going to expose a lot of people because now buyers have concerns. Now sellers have concerns. Agents are stressed out. Like you need to be excellent at understanding your process and educating everybody. And you need to be just a savant that's like, yeah, the whole house around me, it's really on fire. Ooh, it's getting a little warm, but we'll be okay. It's fine. Right? Like you need to be able to be in that position. And so for people like us, right, where we're out there helping educate agents, we're out there helping educate clients. It's going to be like the book Shift, right? Great book. Talks about the law of equilibrium. Talks about how, you know, people come into the market based on the perceived income that the real estate agents make. So we've been facing all these people coming into the business because they think it's like house hunters. Show 3 homes, buyer chooses one, no competition, guaranteed to get the house, right? And now And now we have these agents that are leaving the business because they didn't develop their skill set. They didn't get the right results. And it's really tough because now you got to work twice as hard to get the same amount of money, right? Because now the transactions are lower. So it's going to create a really great opportunity that is tough right now. But it's one of those areas where if you look at all the people, and we could go down a list of the people that are doing, I've got a team that does 1,000 sales, 500 sales, 600 sales. Like if you look at these people, they were working their tails off in 09, 2010, 11, 12, 13. They were fighting through. And then when the market took off, so did their business. Right. And they leverage that. So not that I think we're in any type of situation like that. I mean, we've got an inventory challenge that is going to be really difficult to eradicate due to people locked in at 2.5, upsize and downsize. And that's going to be a problem. Competition and demand is going to be high, even though the interest rates are a lot higher than they have been. But it's a great opportunity to just kind of weather the storm, keep bringing in money, keep prospecting, and prepare for some greater growth that you'll have a lot of wind in your sails coming soon. You just got to align yourself with the right people so that you have the right support and right resources.
Oh, I love that. Everything you said was just so hot fire because it's like, yes, you are who you surround yourself with. And I think agents forget that. They're like, oh, I want, this name on my sign. Who cares? I've never had a buyer be like, I only want to CKW homes. Doesn't happen, dude. No. Like, you need to be around people that are going to make you a better you. That's what you should be asking. When you go to interview at a brokerage, that's what you should be asking. How does Elite Realty or Ideally how do you make me a better me, right? That should be the question.
Trisha, check this out. In 6 years of selling real estate, I was at Big Block, I was at Keller Williams, I was at Douglas Elliman, I was at Altman Brothers, I was at First Class Real Estate. Most of my clients don't even know what brokerage I'm at. They're like, where are you at this week, Josh? Right?
We're going to follow you.
Yeah, we're going to follow you. And I knew that getting into real estate, which is where it's like I joined a discount brokerage out here that's pretty big. And I knew that a lot of brokers didn't offer resources, right? And a lot of these brokerage out there, they're charging $30,000 a year, 20% in perpetuity, and they want to sell you on their brand being the bigger picture. And guess what? You know what? I get that for like the high-end luxury stuff, right? Like some of the high-end luxury, like especially out in New York, that stuff matters, right? But for most markets, right? And that's not because it matters to the consumers. That's because the brokers made it matter. And they did a phenomenal job at selling their brand and providing, like Manhattan hasn't had an MLS ever really, right? Like they've got the lock on it. And so like that stuff doesn't matter though, because if you're providing really great resources to people, if you're building relationships with people, they could care less whether you're here, there, or anywhere. Like that's the question though that agents have to ask is like, if you're spending $30,000 at your brokerage, and they are not helping you get more clients, they are not helping you develop and grow your business, they are not investing in leads for you. If they're not doing that, then what are you paying them for?
Mic drop.
Yeah. I'm in the office every day.
I know, you're there every day. All right, well, we got 3 minutes here. There are still so many questions to go through.
I know. There is. We're going to have you back on the show, Josh. We only got to half of our questions because
I would
you're
love
spitting a hot fire.
Yeah, we want to just squeeze all of the experience and knowledge and hot fire out of you.
I want to ask, though, what advice would you give to an agent who wants to just toss in the towel and quit?
I did a video the other day and it came out and it was, I think it was for Instagram. And it was just like, hey, for those of you out there killing it and crushing it in your business, congratulations. And for those of you struggling, just understand that this is where everybody gives up. This is where everybody throws in the towel. And again, goes back to burning the boats, right? Like just keep, if this is what you want, if you truly want to be in this business and you truly want to be an entrepreneur and you truly want to be successful, like the idea of going back to a 9-to-5 crushes you, then just get yourself in alignment with somebody that can help you prospect and spend all day prospecting. I got an agent that he just went part-time real estate and he was struggling. His pipeline dried up. He got hit by the market shift. He wasn't putting in the effort to prospect. And I was with him in the office going, man, listen, you got to dial, you got to door knock, you got to do something, get after it. And he was just struggling like, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It wasn't okay. He had to go get a 9 to 5. I called him yesterday just to check in on him. Like, hey man, how's the new gig? He's like, dude, I'm prospecting. He's selling websites to doctors. And he's like, I'm prospecting from 9 to 4 every day. He's like, if I put half this much energy as I am now in my own business, I wouldn't be here. And I hate this 9 to 4. And I was like, dude, you've got the access to dialers, scripts, 4 to 6 every day. You've got weekends. Like, I will literally work with you. You set the appointment. ISAs normally take 10%. You set the appointment. I'll give you 30%. I'll do all the work on the listing. I'll go take the appointment. I'll get you back in. And then once you get some deals closed, you're prospecting at nights, you're prospecting on the weekends, and you can get back in. So it's like, just go out and go harder than you think you can, harder than you think you have to. Meet people and just keep asking them, can I help you buy, sell, or invest in real estate? You will just grit your way to success. And then you take that check and you just put it in your pocket and you eat ramen and you don't do anything, right? Like, you just save the money and you get another one and you get another one and you build up your 6-month safety net and you get back after it.
I love that so much. That's so great. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, Josh. It's been such a lovely time. You're such a lovely fellow.
Josh's info will be in the show notes, so you can go and find him anywhere you love people to find you at specifically, Josh.
The best place that they can go and get a ton of stuff for free without any like hooks or value systems, just go to the YouTube Ponoisms channel. I take all my content and put it on there. It's all the trainings that we're doing. It's just, and it's not branded to this brokerage or that brokerage. It's just me giving back.
I love it so much. Thanks, friends, for listening and tune in. Hit that subscribe button, like, listen, share, help us grow the show, share the show. And we drop fresh stuff every Thursday, so come back next week. Bye.
We thank you so much for joining us today on the Elite Live with Trish and Kylee. Be sure to share the episode with a friend so we can continue bringing you more great tips on grit, grace, and real estate. You can also connect with us on Instagram, Facebook. We hope the ideas we share continue to help you build an empire and leave a legacy.